guys, so for the one of you that's watching, we're gonna watch some Circus Theory. So, okay.
Find gifts that say, I love your style on Macy's Gift Finder. Plus, take an extra 30.
After over a month of research, I have finally crafted the ultimate amazing digital circus theory. And in this video, I'm going to explain the entire lore and timeline of the pilot episode. So get ready, because we're not skipping any piece of information. But to put this all together, first, we have to finally solve what happened to Kaufmo.
Okay.
If we want to find out if Kaufmo is still alive, first we need to look into what happened to Kaufmo in the first place. Well, you may think the answer is obvious. What happened to him is a lot more complex than you would think. Kaufmo was a full-fledged member of the circus like everyone else. And if you listen to the intro of the episode where all the characters were introduced, originally all the characters' names were sung as they were supposed to be, including the part about Kaufmo. But as soon as his name was said, where is he? Instead of a real character, we just saw a cardboard cutout of the clown, which implies that Kaufmo was not showing up that day. Conveniently, the day Pomni joined the circus, which I have a theory that Pomni is Kaufmo's replacement. It makes perfect sense because Kaufmo was a clown and Pomni is a jester, which are two very different things. And the creator mentioned that there were too many characters in the circus and they needed to get rid of one character to add in Pomni. But that's a whole nother theory for another day. If we want to find out if Kaufmo is still alive, we need to find out how long Kaufmo's been a resident of the circus. Well, it's not known for sure. Many people and myself believe that Kaufmo has been in the circus for only a relatively short time. This is proven by the clip where Kinger says Kaufmo's been acting more and more out of character lately.
Impenetrable fortress!
You want to come with us to check on Kaufmo?
No, not really. I think Kaufmo's gone insane. Last time I spoke with him, he was rambling endlessly about some exit. Kind of like you, Pomni.
This proves that Kaufmo's been acting out of character for a while, and he didn't just start acting like this overnight. This may sound strange, but Kaufmo is a clown, and a clown is the backbone of a circus. I mean, really, can you think of a circus that doesn't have a clown in it? My point is that Kaufmo was the star of the amazing digital circus before he disappeared. But what does this mean? Maybe every clown archetype that joins the circus automatically just knows a little bit more than the other characters. This is very easy to prove just by looking at the reactions of all the other characters when they talk about the exit. I'm more than sure if Kaufmo was with the crew in the first episode, he would have sided with Pomni immediately. And as we know, many characters have abstracted before Kaufmo. Kaufmo was a good-natured and funny guy who understood the horrors of what were going on in the circus more than anyone else. But even with knowing this, he still remained really cheerful and upbeat, holding the circus together. As Ragatha told us, our clown was always trying to make a joke or cheer everyone up in some sort of way, but not everyone appreciated it. Before the abstracted Kaufmo attacked Ragatha, she confessed to him and apologized for not appreciating all that Kaufmo has done for them.
Wait, maybe there's still time to fix him before we get caned. Kaufmo, listen, I know we didn't always get along, like when you called me out for fake laughing at your jokes. I swear I really did think they were funny. I was just having a bit of a bad day.
But if we want to find more about what happened to Kaufmo, first we need to find out why Kaufmo abstracted. With all of our current information, it seems like all the characters who started going crazy ended up abstracting. Even Zubul ended up admitting that it was very strange that Kaufmo abstracted because she thought that Kinger would be next. Which is not too crazy to assume because it seems like Kinger has serious problems. He is very anxious, screams all the time, and behaves very strangely, and yet he is the longest-lived inhabitant of the amazing digital circus. But it was Kaufmo who abstracted? We all remember remember Kinger saying that Kaufmo was always trying to talk about getting out. The obsession became Kaufmo's main problem, which led to his disappearance. In this case, one could easily argue that it's not the characters who suffer from mental disorders who disappear, but those who have gone insane with thoughts of leaving the circus, which would be Kaufmo. But I have undeniable proof about this that will tell us what ultimately happened to Kaufmo, which brings me to my next point. We've already seen that Kaufmo started out as a funny character, but nobody found his jokes funny. Maybe besides Ragatha, but even that is questionable. And I'm sure that this did not make staying in the digital hellscape easy for him. Gradually, he went from being a happy, cheerful guy to being a depressed man with obsessive thoughts that dictated the rules of his life. It's not exactly known what kind of relationship our clown had with the other characters of the circus, but we can safely say that at least Ragatha always laughed at his jokes. And Jax did not care about Kaufmo or anyone else for that matter. In fact, it's likely that Jax actually played some sort of role in tipping Kaufmo over the edge, because it's known that Jax likes to mess with other members of the circus, as shown in this clip right here.
They broke my comedy mask.
So, Kane, we having a new adventure today for the newbie or what?
So Jax actually could have played a part in abstracting Kaufmo, but back to my main point, Kaufmo did not have enough support from any other members of the circus to snap out of it and get back to normal. The other characters hardly encouraged him, thinking he was crazy when he started talking about his way to escape the circus, kind of like what happened to Pomni, which only reinforced his belief that nobody needed him here. Everybody remembers what Kaufmo's room looked like, and I doubt it's always looked like this. In fact, I doubt Kaufmo drew this all in one day. This is something that would take weeks or months to draw, which proves that nobody ever visited Kaufmo's room to see how he was doing or ask if he was okay. And in Kaufmo's room, you can see a huge number of exit drawings. And there are various pictures that we don't understand yet, where Kaufmo is depicted as an evil clown, or the strangest picture where he has drawn himself, but only in a dissipated form. But the main picture in Kaufmo's room is a drawing of an evil-looking Kane where he has huge fangs like a dog or a wolf, instead of the usual teeth he has, chasing after the unfortunate clown. But this drawing will actually come in handy to figure out what really happened to Kaufmo. Now that you have all the information you could possibly need about Kaufmo, we're going to find out what actually happened to him. As you know, Kaufmo started going crazy by looking for a way out of the circus. He realized that he had to get out of here because everything he has seen so far was a lie. We all noticed the strange drawing where evil Kane is chasing Kaufmo, where it looks like he's trying to eat or destroy him. But why is that? If you think about it, Kane actually becomes very strange and evil at the mention of an exit. Because we know he's AI, it's likely that he was programmed to do this. But what does any of this have to do with what happened to Kaufmo? Well, I just found a scene that perfectly illustrates what happened to him.
How to get the most of Grammarly free.
It's
Oh, come
Kayla
on,
behalf of
guys.
Grammarly to tell
Come
you all
on.
about the free version of the best.
As we know, Pomni and Kaufmo are very similar, almost too similar. So it's almost guaranteed that Kaufmo saw the exits, the void, and the basement, where all the abstracted characters are hidden in form of monsters. But if he went insane enough to get abstracted, we can only imagine what more he has seen. But what did Kaufmo see that Pomni didn't? The computer in the desk of the office in the exit rooms. We all know that this computer plays some sort of significance in the real and digital world, as we see it in the circus at the end of the show when we zoom out of the void into the real world. So I have a crazy theory where Kaufmo discovered this computer and saw something on it that led him to ultimately get abstracted. This is supported by the drawings you see on Kaufmo's wall just before he disappears. Realizing all the horrors of further life here, Kaufmo was trying to imagine one of the exits he saw from the information on the computer. And as we know, he found himself in the same office as Pomni. But not understanding what to do next,
Thanks for
he
being
quietly
first to the
explored and
stream,
came to the
thanks.
last room leading to the void. Like Pomni, Kane was
Thanks.
able to recognize this and teleported Kaufmo back back to the circus. But Kaufmo, determined to leave, tried a few more times, and each time Kane managed to stop him. Perhaps after one of these attempts, the very situation that Kaufmo painted on his room actually took place. He left that as a clue to the rest of the circus on what Kane can really do. He wanted to let the members know that Kane is not to be trusted and should be feared. After many failed attempts, Kaufmo had an idea on how to outsmart Kane, and he got into the void without anyone knowing. But why the void? After Kaufmo realizes that Kane is not who he says, he assumes that the void is just a room that leads nowhere, and where the character will stay forever. Then, Kane would just most likely leave Kaufmo there to wander around for the rest of his life after so many attempts to save him. But no, he saved him every single time, which means that going through the void is somewhere the characters are not supposed to be. There would be another door leading to the basement, and Kaufmo knew that because he has gotten there himself after doing all of this. Kaufmo realized that there is a real world outside of the void by outsmarting Kane, and Kaufmo was able to get out. Once Kane realized this, there was nothing he could do. After all of his power is inside of the amazing digital circus. And the only option was to make Kaufmo look like a complete psycho that has gone too far. So far, in fact, that he became a disintegrated, abstracted monster. And Kane has clearly done this many times because there is a lot of strange monsters in the basement that look the exact same. It's as they are all pre-programmed NPCs that Kane creates in such cases. And so we can say that all the other characters who are no longer in the circus didn't dissipate at all. But on the contrary, they were able to escape despite the horror going on inside of them, and finally got out of this terrible place. But why do the monsters stay in the basement after Kane puts them there? Well, I just found the answer. See, Kane has to maintain his mechanism in the circus that when you start freaking out and seeing exits about how to get out of the circus, a character is bound to see the basement behind one of those doors. At this point, Kane will explain that all the other characters who suffer the exact same thing as Kaufmo will eventually also end up in the basement. So the characters being sent to the basement is just a way to scare the other members of the circus. But this brings us to our last point, and I finally answer the question that you guys have all been waiting for. Yes, Kaufmo is still alive. In fact, he is in a lot better of a state than anyone else who has escaped the circus. For what we know now, he is a free man in the real world, not having to endure this digital hell anymore. The most important thing in his life will be to understand the principle of how humans got there. After all, it has been long known that Kane and Bubble are artificial intelligence, and all the other characters are human. Maybe it'll take weeks, months, or even years. But given Kaufmo's tenacity and what the circus has done to him, it seems to me that Kaufmo will be able to understand the process that's going on and stop it, thus preventing even the slightest chance of new people entering the circus. So now we know what happened to Kaufmo. But Gooseworks gave us a big hint on Tumblr about what the next episode could be about. She told us that the next episode is going to be about Jax. And what if I told you guys that Jax is going to abstract in this episode? Which brings us into our next chapter.
Polly Pratts wore many hats.
Oh my gosh.
They came from past jobs, in fact. Every time
I'm gonna get YouTube Premium.
Now, when you think of what happens to a character when they get abstracted, you probably think they either went insane or even died. But what if I told you that's not the case? Instead, they found a way to escape. This is proven when we look at how Kaufmo abstracted.
You'll never know until it's too late.
Wait a minute, what was that voice crack? Never knows what's too late.
I've been looking for this. Thanks for keeping an eye on it, Coffee. I'm gonna head out. See ya.
But if we want to learn who's going to abstract next, we need to talk about Kaufmo the Clown, because he's very important for understanding the concept of abstracting, because he's the only character we've seen that's abstracted on the show so far. Kaufmo was a clown, always trying to cheer people up in the digital circus, but things didn't go well for him. The other characters didn't find his jokes funny. That really bummed Kaufmo out. As time went by, Kaufmo started acting more and more unusual. He kept yapping about a way to find an exit out of the circus, which in turn made everyone else treat him worse. And you know what happened next? Well, I think we know what happened.
Oh, Kaufmo, listen, I know we didn't always get along, like when you called me out for fake laughing at your jokes. I swear I really did think they were funny. I was just having a bit of a bad day.
Oh, gosh.
It's also also been confirmed by the creators of the show in an interview that they had too many characters in the show, and one of them needed to go so they could add Pomni in the circus. And there have been many incidents like Kaufmo's that have happened in the past. And these previous incidents of people who have abstracted can help us find out which character will be abstracted next. As we can see in the doors of the room, if you look really closely, you can see 6 people who have been crossed out. And I think that the X's over these unfamiliar characters we haven't seen before indicate that they've already been abstracted and have somehow left the circus. So let's investigate. There seems to be a dog, which we don't have much.
Guys, wait a minute. I have a theory. So the extra eyes in the circus cellar might be the characters that extracted. That might be it.
Much information on. Sock puppet, which we also don't have a lot of information on. A blurry image of another jester archetype, kind of like Pomni, some sort of pink monster, and a bird. But most importantly, there's a black chess piece, and this one is interesting. Her name is theorized to be Queenie, but other than that, the creators gave us no more information about her. But wait a second, isn't there already a chess piece in the Amazing Digital Circus? That's right. This brings us to our first character on the chopping block of being abstracted, Kinger. He seems to be completely broken, potentially by the loss of his wife, and that can be a big stress factor for him. For instance, his constant panicking or tendencies to be afraid in calm situations. He can be talking about something and then completely forget what it was, or just completely zone out and not notice the people around him. He is definitely the most unstable character. But now the question is, will Kinger extract next? No. If he thinks about leaving, he'll probably forget a few seconds later.
My impenetrable fortress!
You want to come with us to check on Kaufmo?
No, not really. I think Kaufmo's gone insane. Last time I spoke with him, he was rambling endlessly about some exit. Kind of like you, Pomni.
But if Kinger's not gonna abstract next, who will? Well, now we gotta talk about Jax. Jax is the seemingly cool guy, but he might not be what he appears to be on surface level. He is theorized to be an insecure, damaged kid, using his jokes and mocking behavior as a defense mechanism. And I think that Jax is mentally crazy / crazier than Kaufmo. He's just better at hiding it. He will probably survive until some of the later episodes, or maybe even escape if he can do it right, because he knows how to handle these tough situations. But at the same time, Jax is a very big wild card, because on face value, he seems the most stable of the bunch, but I think he's definitely hiding something that we are not yet aware of, which could be a reason that he's always smiling. Like, seriously, why is he always smiling? I refuse to believe this is just a design choice. There is definitely something behind this.
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
Yeah, he's right. Why is he always smiling?
Pomni's not even here? Wasn't this whole thing for her?
Be quiet. I can't hear the escalator.
So Jax is a maybe, but chances are he won't abstract in the second episode. But what about Zubul? As odd as it sounds, she might be the one to get abstracted in the next episode. It's kind of ironic to say this though, because she said that Kinger would be the first one it would happen to.
Man, I can't believe Kaufmo just gave up like that. I mean, no offense, Kinger, but I always thought you would be next.
Thank you.
She doesn't panic like Kinger, but behaves in her own unique way. She's rude, grumpy, and irritable. She doesn't like where she is and clearly wants to get out of the circus. But since she doesn't know how to do it, her tension grows and her mental health suffers. Zubul's identity problem is evident. She doesn't know who she is, which can be a serious factor for abstraction. Zubul is rude because her worst fear is love. When Jax was scratching her back with Zubul's arm, Zubul did not like it.
Was that an exit door I saw out there? Is that a way to leave?
What exit? If there was a way to leave, I'm pretty sure we'd have all left by now.
Although it's possible, I doubt she'll be abstracted in the next episode. But what about Gangle? She is a very unstable character similar to Kinger. Her mask controls her feelings and she is very sensitive. But also, Jax may be trying to help her reach her breaking point by breaking her mask.
So, Kane, we having a new adventure today for the newbie or what?
I believe that Jax is actually trying to make her abstract. So yes, Gangle could be another potential candidate for abstraction. But what about Ragatha? Ragatha has shown signs of going insane, but Kane managed to cure her in the early stages of the glitch.
I am in so much pain!
Ragatha is an optimistic character, but she may be hiding a touch of madness. She has been traumatized and very much so wants to leave. Especially with how she was treated in episode 1, I don't see her staying around much longer. And of course, we can't forget about Pomni, the main character. It might seem impossible for her to abstract, but in the Amazing Digital Circus, there could be a bad ending. This could result in either the death of a main character or her transformation into an abstract monster. Pomni keeps trying to convince herself that it's all a dream, and she talks about finding an exit. The situation in the secret room and the end of the pilot episode suggests that Pomni has started to lose her grip on reality.
Because we don't need to eat, drink, or sleep in this digital world. So the digital food here only gives off the virtual sensation of eating without any of the nutritional benefits.
Sheesh, lay off it. Since when are you an expert on the digital world?
Expert on the what?
Pomni is pretty likely to abstract next, because she wants to find an exit, and you remember who else wanted to find an exit? It was Kaufmo. Pomni could definitely be a potential candidate for abstraction. But finally, we have to consider Kane. Kane is a very mysterious character. It's also theorized that Kane killed his brother. In the scene where the CNA sign is shown, it's been theorized that that acronym might mean Cain and Abel. And we didn't see Abel in the game, so we have to assume it's Kane's brother. But the real question is, will Kane abstract? I really don't think so. I see him staying around till the very end of Amazing Digital Circus. But what about Bubble? Yeah, we're really covering everything in this theory. But I'm pretty sure we can count Bubble out pretty quickly because it seems like Bubble is just another one of Kane's NPCs. But speaking about Kane's NPCs, we are going to find a lot more Easter eggs and hidden details about Kane and the other characters in this next chapter.
I feel like something's coming. In 2024, your life and your business.
As many of you probably don't know, the Amazing Digital Circus has been in the works for a very long time, with pre-production starting in the middle of 2022, almost a year and a half before it finally released near the end of 2023. So it stands that there is a reason that many of these clips and animations didn't make the final cut. The first few clips I found for you guys is some scenes from the first episode of the Amazing Digital Circus, and there are some pretty interesting things I noticed from these early versions of the scenes. You will notice that the lighting has not been added to the scene, and some characters look a bit more primitive compared to their final version, such as Ragatha's dress having a completely different color pattern, or Zubul not yet having the prints on her torso like the final. One of the other early development scenes that caught my eye was the scene where Ragatha and Pomni first encounter Kaufmo after he's been turned into an abstract monster. If you look at the earlier and unfinished version, you will notice that Kaufmo looks a lot less menacing before the glitchy texture and blinking eyes were added to him. Another thing I found was the walking animations for many of the characters that never got used, or were used but never shown in the final render of the episode. Watching these makes you wonder what else these animations could have been used for. Like, what will Pomni be running from? We also get to see the entire circus crew walking together, which makes me wonder if we will ever see these characters team up to stop Kane to try and leave this digital circus instead of the chaos in episode 1. This part shows the running animations of an abstracted character, but something to note here is that the text below it reads abstracted Kaufmo run cycles. And well, in the first episode, when abstracted Kaufmo is cast into the cellar, we catch a vague glimpse of many characters who used to be a part of the circus, which suggests that all the circus members who have been abstracted will most likely look the same. But since this text singles out Kaufmo being the one who has been abstracted, instead of just being an abstracted circus member, I am led to believe that if another circus member is going to be abstracted, they will look different than Kaufmo's abstracted form, even only if it's a slight amount. Well, these are not necessarily unused animations from from the episode, we do have a various amount of facial renders and animations from each of the Amazing Digital Circus's iconic cast members, such as this animation of Pomni holding in vomit, or looking very bothered by something, similar to how we saw her at the dinner scene of the very first episode. Another early scene I found was a demo version of the scene where Ragatha and Pomni first meet Kaufmo after he's abstracted. An interesting thing to note is the use of a more cartoony animation style in the demo, with Ragatha's movements being far more fluid, like that of a cartoon character. Well, in the final release of the episode, her movements are a lot more toned down. According to the lead animator, this was to make the scene more serious in tone since the scene depicts Pomni and Ragatha in danger, and Ragatha's goofy, more cartoony movements could disrupt that tone. Here, we are shown what is described as the cursed development photos, and I don't think I could agree more. Many of these characters are shown to be distorted or modeled in a very strange way, where there are elements of their design clipped through their body. Like here, where Jax's eyes and teeth are being fused together. But something I did want to theorize about for a moment is this screenshot showing Jax looking very creepy and demented in a way he's never shown in the pilot episode. As you may know, it's widely theorized that Jax will be one of the first characters after Kaufmo to become abstracted, with people speculating it to happen as early as the very next episode. Considering that episode 2 of the Amazing Digital Circus has been confirmed by the show's creator Gooseworks to be having Jax as the main focus, this makes me wonder what the process of abstracting will look like. I don't think they will just immediately transform from a normal circus performer to a giant beast, like what Kaufmo looked like in the pilot. And this image makes me think that perhaps abstraction is a slower process, and this could be a part of the process, showing Jax at the beginning of his abstraction. Let's just hope that isn't the case though, because if Jax were to abstract, the fandom would probably go insane. Another scene that I have here shows Pomni on her way to help Ragatha after Kaufmo's attack. But Pomni doesn't walk as much as she just floats. Here's the thing I was very excited to show you guys. As you can see, I found an alternate version of the show's original intro theme.
Let's get right into the show! And Skangle and Zubo and King and Two, Ragatha and Jax, and then there's Kaufmo. Many wonders can be found, send you spinning round and round until you fly to the moon, and then the suddenly don't know why. La, 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 la. You won't believe your eyes. Prepare for a surprise. Don't touch that door, there's so much more. You don't know what's in store. Watch out for
This theme I found also has alternate lyrics. For instance, instead of the original version glitching out and saying day after day after day after day after, we hear different lyrics singing
many wonders can be found, send you spinning round and round.
Not only is there that though, but the intro has more lyrics that are not present in the final episode.
To the moon, and then the suddenly don't know why. La, 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 la. You won't believe your eyes. Prepare for a surprise. Don't touch that door, there's so much more. You don't know what's in store. Watch out for
This is very interesting because one of the most iconic and fan favorite things about this show is the incredibly catchy intro theme, and hearing the extended version of the intro song is actually pretty cool. It also is interesting to hear what's supposed to be Kane singing and telling Pomni not to touch the door before it has even been explained why she is there. As you may know, Kane has been hiding the fake exit door for a while because it's the entrance to the void, which he is self-conscious about and doesn't want the cast to see as unfinished and incomplete work. The final thing I wanted to show you guys were the character animations uploaded to Glitch Productions' YouTube channel a couple of months before the show even premiered. There's some demo versions we can look at, and it's been revealed for the first time that these characters have been animated. So it's intriguing to think about how the animators figured out how to make the characters behave on screen to fit their personalities. We are also shown the very first piece of animation ever for the Amazing Digital Circus.
Welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus! Are you ready to see something incredible? Well, too bad. You're gonna see it anyway. In today's show, we've got quite the performance. Whoops, wrong thingamagigama. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Pomni here is gonna perform something you've never seen before. Don't worry, my dear. You won't even die horribly.
But what?
Well, I think we both had something to learn from that experience.
It shows Kane, the circus's ringmaster, showing the viewers everything that there is to know about the digital circus before revealing the show's star, Pomni, and some antics between Pomni and Kane where Kane is throwing knives at Pomni, who is tied to a spinning target, which I do admit is quite comedic and a great way to reveal the show. But speaking about revealing things in the show, this brings us to our new chapter, where I'm going to tell you guys my theory of a new character coming to the circus.
Whoa, I have a new
Don't
iPhone
worry,
15.
I'll cancel
That
that
amazing
ad.
camera. I wish my family had that.
As you may have noticed, new characters in the Amazing Digital Circus appear quite unexpectedly, but I've always wondered, why is there an even number of them? Even though that detail seems unimportant, after watching this video to the end, you'll realize that the number of residents being even or odd basically determines the likelihood of a new character appearing, and I'm about to explain why. At this point, we already have Pomni, Jax, Zooble, and others. We won't consider Kane and his handheld robot Bubble because they are not residents of the circus and they are proven to be AI. At this moment, we have 6 characters. But is it possible that there will be more? No. Take a second to imagine if there were 10 or more characters living in the digital circus at the same time. That would be crazy, right? As we all know, since the release of the pilot episode, there has been a theory floating around the internet that there's going to be a completely new character that is going to replace the abstracted character. The writers themselves haven't officially stated this, but the situation with Pomni and Kaufmo that you just witnessed gives us confidence in this theory. As soon as Kaufmo disappeared, Pomni spawned in. Some might say that this is just a coincidence, but what if it's not? And if it is a coincidence, is it possible to say that Kane is somehow involved? Remember that when Pomni entered the digital circus, no one knew that Kaufmo abstracted. But could this mean that Kaufmo is actually still alive? And does that mean more than 6 characters can live at the same time in the circus? Well, I think we'll find the answer to that question in the new episodes. But I would like to mention the characters that once lived in the Amazing Digital Circus, but have long since been abstracted. In fact, there's also a big mystery that none of us have any idea what happened to them before the digital circus, and how they became abstracted monsters in the first place. However, there is one character in the Amazing Digital Circus who knows absolutely everything that went on in the circus before Pomni arrived, and that is Kinger. This strange and somewhat frightening chess piece has lived in the circus longer than anyone else, and it's most likely Kinger that has seen everyone's fate. As we know, there are a bunch of crossed off characters on the doors, which are most likely the abstracted characters. But it's not their fate that we're interested in, it's the number and order of which they have been abstracted. And I think in the Kinger series, we are shown this or at least told about it. In case you didn't know, in the Amazing Digital Circus, every new series is dedicated to a new character. As you and I may have noticed over the years, in the Amazing Digital Circus, a huge number of characters have lived there, and it's most likely a life cycle. Let's say that a character disappeared and was replaced by a new one. Now, remember what I said about odd and even numbers for characters? To this, we must add the story of the poor clown Kaufmo, for he will be the defining and most important part of this video. Let's back up a little bit, and remember that there are now 6 characters living in the circus. That's an even number, and that's what's going to be defining here. And if the circus must have an even number of characters, then Kaufmo is still alive. Then if Kaufmo is still alive, we will have a new character. The total number of characters will be 8, but if Kaufmo is really no longer a resident of the circus, then our chances of seeing a new character is greatly reduced, if not eliminated. It's a bit of a stretch to say that the number of characters will be even or not, but if you think about it, we were originally shown 6 characters in the intro, and if we are going to increase that number of characters, it is going to be even, because we do not know what the plot is going to be of the next episode. Maybe Kane will come up with a task where the residents work in pairs. A very large number of people believe that Kaufmo is still alive and just hidden somewhere in the circus. And the transformation into an abstract monster is some sort of an illusion by Kane or someone higher up, which means that this new character has a great chance of appearing at the start of the next episode. Now, I hope I didn't break your brain trying to explain this crazy theory of how characters will cycle out and replace each other. But now that we covered that, we can talk about who the next character will be in the Amazing Digital Circus. Gooseworks, who is the main author author of this indie animated series, originally explained that Kaufmo was going to be in the series in his original form because we even have his full 3D model. But when writing the final version of the script, it was decided that it was necessary to get rid of Kaufmo because there were already a lot of characters. This leads us to believe that all of this is complete nonsense and there will be no new characters. That's what I first thought, at least, but if you watch the pilot episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, you will know that this episode has a huge number of clues, secret meanings, references, riddles, and everything else. This prevents Gooseworks from confusing us a bit in this time around to surprise us even more in the future. But I'll say it again, Kaufmo is the one who decides if there will be a new character or not. If Kaufmo is still alive, then yes, it is very likely that we will see another important character in the story. And if Kaufmo is no longer with us, then unfortunately the chance of getting someone else in the circus is close to zero. But this means that the new character will appear as an addition to the ones that are already living in the circus. Because if one of them finally goes crazy and gets abstracted, in that case, we will 100% see a new character. Because despite the fate of Kaufmo, the golden rule of the circus is not going anywhere. And the golden rule is, if one of the circus inhabitants are abstracted, then someone else immediately takes our place. I also think that the next episode will be dedicated to Kinger. We will be able to understand the whole mechanism of people getting stuck into the digital circus. Let's imagine a situation where we'll definitely see a new character regardless of whether Kaufmo is alive or not. And let's try to understand what might happen. Let me remind you that in the case of abstracted Kaufmo, Pomni immediately took his place. It was if it happened automatically, and because of that, no one had any time to realize that anything was wrong with Kaufmo. So now we need to find out who the new character will replace and when will it happen. I think that Gooseworks and Glitch will not hesitate with such a twist, which means that we should expect a similar situation in the next episode. It has officially been announced that the third episode will focus on Zooble, which means that we won't be able to consider her as a main candidate for someone to become an abstracted monster. You could say that Jax would be the most unexpected choice, but since he has become so popular with Digital Circus fans, his disappearance could be bad for the entire Digital Circus universe, which means that Jax won't be going anywhere anytime soon, until the end of the first season at least. It would be foolish to change Pomni because she is the main character, who unlike all others has a specific goal to get out of this digital hellhole. According to Gooseworks' Tumblr page, there are 8 episodes planned for season 1, the exact same number of episodes of other Glitch projects. The first episode was about Pomni, and we have 6 characters in total, so the remaining 5 episodes would tell us the fate of each of them. But there's still 2 episodes to go. The latest episode, I think, will be about how Pomni's story ends in the circus, and we will be able to see if she finally goes crazy and gets out of the circus. And I think in that case that there will be another episode where we will be told about someone else we haven't seen yet. Now, let's move on. Ragatha shows no signs of going insane anytime soon, while Kinger and Gangle are very unstable, which could lead to abstraction. But unlike Gangle, who is really just sad and whiny all the time, Kinger is really on edge, and this separates him from being an abstract monster. Perhaps even the next episode might be dedicated to Kinger, and we will be shown his past and how he got to such a state. And this might even reveal all the secrets related to his wife, who we have seen as previously abstracted. And the final point of his life in the series will be his transformation into an abstract monster, which means that in the next episode, we will be able to see a new character that closely resembles Kinger, because Kaufmo and Pomni are both employees of the entertainment industry, and one of them is a clown and the other is a jester. Well, if the abstraction of characters has nothing to do with the appearance of the new ones, then I think that in each episode, we will be able to see some new characters, which unfortunately will not be the main one, but will go in addition to the story of the main characters. In this case, none of them that we have already seen will be subjected to the terrible phenomenon that has happened to Kaufmo. But finally, I would like to say that we will definitely see someone new in the Amazing Digital Circus. But for now, we don't know exactly under which circumstances. But what we do know is that Pomni is going to escape in this next episode.
This is your garbage trash browser, and this is Opera GX. You see this difference?
Chapter 5.
Pomni was introduced in the pilot episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, and ever since then she has been trapped in this digital world. From even the first few seconds of her being there, she was always obsessed over finding an exit to this digital hell. And as you may know, this world is ran by the AI game master Kane, who likes to hold various different games and adventures for the trapped human residents of the circus, who have presumably been trapped here for years. And it's not like there's no escape for these characters, because as we know, there are 8 abstracted characters that can be seen on the doors of the rooms, which means that there are at least 8 members of the circus who have previously disappeared. And this means there could be a chance for Pomni to actually escape. But before we answer that question, we need to look into it a little bit deeper. As we know, most of the pilot episode is seen through the lens of Pomni as she tries her best to navigate this new world with the help of some of the current residents without losing her mind, which is something that is very easy to do. Hence why the other characters like Ragatha and Jax try their best to appreciate the adventures that Kane puts them on in order to keep their minds busy. Because if you are not able to keep your mind busy in a place like this, it's very easy for you to lose your mind. In fact, many characters like Kinger and Gangle already seem to be at their breaking points, as shown in these clips right here.
They broke my comedy mask.
So, Kane, we having a new adventure today for the newbie or what?
My impenetrable fortress!
This path to insanity is typically rooted from the idea that no matter how hard one seems to try, there is really no way to get out of this digital circus. Which is why the other residents of the circus try to discourage Pomni to look for a way out, because the likelihood of it leading to disappointment and more agony is very high. But she can't really help herself after seeing the occasional exit door pop up out of the blue. And after she sees this exit door once, it is on her mind, and she becomes even more curious hearing that another resident of the circus named Kaufmo has been looking for an exit as well.
You might be going insane too.
But wait, wouldn't that more likely mean the exit does exist?
Could also mean you just have a jump start and losing your mind.
Well, I think I'd like to ask him about it, if this was real, which it isn't, because it's a dream.
However, by the time she and the other members of the crew find Kaufmo in his bedroom, he has completely lost it. His bedroom looks like something straight out of a horror movie, with the word exit written over and over again in red blood. His body turned from a standard-looking clown to some sort of multi-eyed monster with superhuman strength and the ability to make other things in the circus glitch out or completely disappear. You may be wondering what this has to do with Pomni escaping, but trust me, this all ties together. Pomni eventually finds the magic exit door while looking for Kane to help with the Kaufmo situation. However, what was on the other side was not really what she expected. The exit door did nothing other than taking her through a bunch of different rooms that looked like a standard office building. Over and over again, despite most of these rooms looking the exact same, Pomni would continue to push through, eventually reaching one room in particular that had an old-timey computer set up in the corner.
Wait a minute, she must be the one that made the game.
After seeing this, Pomni began to really freak out, laughing like a crazy person, and even all of her teeth turning sharp, with the final door leading to a place called the Void that Kane strongly encourages residents not to venture off into, because apparently even he doesn't know what's out there. Kane eventually realizes that Pomni is out in the Void thanks to his overall control of this world, and he eventually recalls her back to the main circus area where he has all the control. And when he gets back to the main circus, he finally heals Ragatha from the glitch. He also puts abstracted Kaufmo in the basement to spend the remainder of his days. Even though it looks almost completely pitch black in there, it's easy to see all the other colored demonic eyes in the sides, implying there have been other former humans trapped in the circus that have become abstracted in the past. Kane has to dispose of all these abstracted monsters. He does this so they can't harm the upper level members of the circus. But there seems to be one thing that Kane can't fix. Kane cannot seem to fix the abstracted members of the circus.
Kaufmo abstracted? Why didn't anybody tell me?
What?
And into the cellar you go.
And that's actually likely because it's all related to that character escaping the circus, which I cover in this theory, which you should watch after this video. But back to Pomni, is there really any possible ways she can escape the circus? Well, we have to consider that this world has probably been a thing for a while now, because Kinger, who has apparently been there the longest, has been there for 48 years. And the server that this game is running on looks like it's some sort of abandoned computer from the 80s, judging by the computer monitor. The computer monitor is an old FBAC, and the general setup just looks a little bit off because this looks like a virtual VR world, and it's a bit strange that this is actually meant to be from back in the day. Although VR headsets did exist back in the 90s, they were very hard to access. So it would make more sense if all this was in the modern day. Then there's also the question of how all these different people got here in the first place. And at first I thought one singular computer was the main gateway into this world, but that actually seems unlikely because that would mean every single person in the digital circus would have access to the same specific computer. But it's more likely that it's just a game that once you download on your computer will trap you in this world. So with all of that being said, it is truly possible for Pomni and the others to get back to their normal lives. If the series decides to take that route in the future where they're fully intended to be real people in the real world, it would be important for the creator to show that. Kane also reveals that he was the one who created the series of exit doors, but he keeps it a secret because he doesn't like others seeing his unfinished work. With the pilot episode ending at the dinner table with everyone eating supper together, despite not actually needing to eat or sleep in this digital world. With the camera zooming in on Pomni's face as her mind begins to crack little by little, followed by an overall world zooming to the point where it shows the final setup of the same computer. The same computer that Pomni saw while adventuring the exit rooms. But now that we have all the background information, we need to answer the question: will Pomni ever escape? Well, first we have to consider this. As we know, Pomni and Kaufmo are very similar. Almost too similar. And it's almost guaranteed that Kaufmo saw the exits. He most likely saw the void as well as the basement, where all the abstracted characters are hidden in the form of monsters. But if he went insane enough to get abstracted, we can only imagine what he's seen. But what did Kaufmo see that Pomni didn't? The computer in the desk of the office of the exit rooms. We all know that this computer plays some sort of significance in the real and digital world, as we see it in the circus at the end of the show when we zoom out of the void into the real world. So I have a crazy theory where Kaufmo discovered this computer and saw something on here that ultimately led to him getting abstracted, which is the only way I found that Pomni could possibly escape this world. So if Pomni wants to escape the circus, she has to become insane like Kaufmo and finally realize all of the information she has been missing in order to leave. But it might be pretty hard to leave because of one person, Kane.
Lowe's knows your spring projects are adding up, so we're keeping prices down. You can get everything you need for less. Finish the season strong, inside and out. And with the My Lowe's Rewards credit card, you can save 5% every day. Hurry and shop spring deals now at Lowe's.
As you all know, this show is about 6 humans who got trapped in a virtual reality world, where their lives are controlled by the AI rigmaster running the show known as Kane. In the early teasers of the show, Kane seemed to be the ultimate villain of the series, trapping humans in this world and mindlessly torturing them with his games. A good example of this is when he was throwing knives at the main character of the show, Pomni.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, Pomni here is gonna perform something you've never seen before! Don't worry, my dear! You won't even die horribly!
However, the pilot episode paints a very different picture. One where Kane is the hero of the story and is actually trying to help the humans. Well, let's break down why this is. The Amazing Digital Circus opened with an old school kind of computer game graphic style before transitioning into this beautiful 3D world. The use of these old school graphics was something hinted at in a lot of the promotional material, which is similar to a lot of video game art styles from back in the day like Kid Pick. In this opening bit, all of the characters are introduced as regulars at the circus before Pomni suddenly manifests right in the middle of everything, ruining the act. Here, we get quickly introduced to the characters again, and this time their more cynical real personalities show, as Pomni explains that she suddenly appeared here after putting on a VR headset. And this VR headset is so intense that it can even simulate feelings of eating, as we later learn.
So what? I can still be hungry.
Well, not really, because we don't need to eat, drink, or sleep in this digital world. So the digital food here only gives off the virtual sensation of eating without any of the nutritional benefits.
After getting Pomni and the audience up to speed on what's going on, Kane sets up a sort of game-style mission for them to spend their day, which involves a little thing called gloinks, and they actually steal Zooble. Kane goes off on his own to relax with another AI, his assistant called Bubble, but Pomni doesn't want to play with the gloinks. She believes that she's seen an exit door and thinks it may lead to a way out of the circus. But the other circus members call her crazy for this and relate her behavior to the previously abstracted character Kaufmo. But this all ties into how Kane is trying to save the humans later. For now, let's get back on topic. At the beginning of the episode, Kane showed Pomni everything that Kane had managed to create, from the interior of the circus to the outside grounds governed by the moon and sun and the blank void that exists just beyond it, which just seems to me like more programmable space. Pomni is uncertain where this exit may go, but she seems determined to find a way out, as apparently most of the newcomers do when they first arrive. When showing Pomni around to their rooms, they stop to check on Kaufmo, a clown who never showed up for their morning intro like they always do.
Let's get right into the show!
Bingo and Zooble and Peanut too. Raga, the Jackson, and Kaufmo room.
When the door to his room opens, we see the walls covered in insane style writings about trying to find an exit. But instead of a clown, we see a horrible glitching monster in his place. This is Kaufmo, but he has been abstracted. According to the others, the characters are human trapped in digital bodies governed by artificial intelligence. But time over time, we seem to see these humans lose their sense of self and become digitally abstract. In the circus, the characters actually never have to sleep. So it would seem that they are plugged into the game by more than just a simple virtual reality headset. Because of this, time is endless and there is never a need for true rest in the digital circus, which is great when you are temporarily plugged in to play a game, but not something that the human mind was ever meant to experience on an ongoing basis. Kane thus seems to know that humans are not supposed to be trapped here for that long, but he appears to have no way of actually helping them to get out. Before the 6 humans started manifesting, there may have been people that used to come into play for short bursts, leaving at their own free will. But at some point, something seemed to change, and Kane realized that he had a long-term duty to somehow try and help the humans who got sucked into the game. To do this, Kane focuses on simulating human life while maintaining the circus theme in his video game mechanics. The characters say they don't need sleep, but that it's nice to have free time to essentially pretend to sleep and be away from everyone else in the circus. This is essentially when they can have their own thoughts and process what happened to them that day, and enter a state of as little thinking as possible until the next day begins.
So, this is where we all live. Or, well, where we all sleep at night. Even though we don't really need to sleep, it's sometimes nice to kind of take a break from everything and have a bit of a routine, you know?
This gives them a sense of human normalcy, and probably helps them to maintain their form without abstracting much longer than the early humans might have inside of the circus. Kaufmo's room was covered in writings about trying to find an exit, and it seems that he did not use his free time to rest at all, and rather fixated further on his issues of being trapped here, because he had seemingly no need to rest. He thought he could just focus on his mission indefinitely, but instead of his body giving out, his mind shattered and he became an abstracted monster. Kane does not take advantage of the toys the way he seems to in the teasers, and instead, the missions he sends them on are probably what passes for real games that his program was meant to do. I'm sure time over time, things will get crazier and crazier with his behavior, as he always hints at being able to go unhinged. But for now, he seems like he's genuinely trying to do his best to help these humans have the happiest experience they can in the forms of them being trapped. The bigger question to all of this is, how exactly did these 6 humans get trapped here? As we discussed already, the characters' minds seem to be trapped in the game. One possibility is that they don't need sleep because their physical bodies would always be in a state of rest in whatever machinery they're hooked up to. But another possibility is that the headset Pomni remembers putting on was scanning her brain to insert her into a digital game, and her consciousness was transferred into the circus out of her body, which could be another reason that Pomni got so scared when she saw the VR headset at the end of the hallway of the back rooms.
The journey to becoming a University of Phoenix student is easier than you might think. There's no application fee, no SAT or GMAT required, and we'll locate your prior college transcripts at no additional cost. Apply for free at phoenix.edu.
Switch to Chrome to load your favorite sites fast, so you can browse with ease. Fast, safe, yours. Get Chrome